All right, we are back. I'm going to wait for some eyeballs. Welcome back to the King's Court. Hopefully the mic problems are fixed. If you are in here and you are back, give me a 1. I so apologize. I have no idea what's going on. I can tell you, I don't think it's my equipment. It's the system. We're going to get back up and running. We'll see if everybody comes. I see a couple people filing in. There's 3, 5. All right. How's the mic, guys? As you follow in, give me a 1 if the mic is okay. If the mic is okay. I hate to do this to you. I tested. That's why it took me longer to come back on, and it sounded fine. How are we sounding? Let me know. This is our last shot. If it doesn't work, all right, 1s, we're good. The mic is solid. 2s now. So okay. 1s. The mic sounds great. Thank you, Jason. Here we go. I don't know what's going on with it. We good. Appreciate it, the prescriber. I'm guessing you're a doctor. What do you prescribe? Not talking about medications. Do you prescribe something else? That's kind of funny. The prescriber. Hell of a screen name. Dallas fans. All right, I'm going to stall for a few minutes as we continue filing back in. We only got 20 eyeballs, but I appreciate all 20 of you. Zach, the NBA guru, was going to join us. I'm going to update our QR code right now. So if you would like to join the show, we will. If not, I will start hopping back into what I was talking about before. Great call, by the way, by Vic. Appreciate that. All of you can call the show as well. Just updated the QR code right there. Let's get to some of your comments. Let's see. Great. Prescribing championships. I love it. Hey, prescriber, you're one of my new favorites, dude. That is a great handle. What are my thoughts on the play-in and the original top 8 format? Progressive, my thoughts are, I think it's fun. I don't have a problem with it. I don't. It gives you a little bit more parity. The NBA is trying to find that secret sauce, right? The style of basketball, I think, has turned off some fans. It really has. You can't tell me otherwise with the 3 balls and everything else going on. So, I think it's okay. I'm running with it if I am them. All right, guys, I think we're up and going. Zach, NBA Guru, if you are back, when you get back, you are more than welcome to call. The link is in the chat. I want to go back to what I was saying before. The audio issues. If you did not hear what I had to say, and I saw some responses to it, and I'm going to respond formally. You said some people said everybody has an agenda. Okay, sure, fine. You know what my agenda is? Bringing you the best fucking Kings coverage that I can. That's my agenda. If you got a problem with it, don't listen to the Kings Court. I'm okay with that. I am okay with that, and I appreciate your support. But if you think I have an agenda, not the place for you. So, all right, let's get back to what I was saying. If NBA Guru Zach's going to hop back in, I'm sorry, we lost about a third of the audience here. Well-deserved because of the mic problems. But back to what I was saying before we took Vic's call. What I was saying is this roster, as it sits right now, filled with defensive guys. The guys that are going to get the majority of the minutes, defensive players. Now, what I was trying to say at the start and the point of this podcast, I've got 2 things I want to hit. You guys can take it any way you want, by the way, as well. Lyles is upgraded to questionable for tomorrow night. What's my angle? Dude, you made me break out the F-ball. Or the F-ball, the F-bomb. What's the F-ball? Is that the mixture of the 3-ball and the F-ball? I don't know. The F-ball. I said it again. Great. Somebody make a t-shirt. I had to break out the F-bomb there. I rarely do that. I'm sorry if cussing is not your thing. It's not usually mine, but I feel strongly about that. If any of you have listened to the King's Court the last 2 weeks, you've heard what I've talked about, just what I've gone through this season to kind of get in. I've made my own access. And a lot of that's because of the traction the King's Court has started and working with Grant and all of you. You guys elevate the conversation. You really do. You guys are smart basketball fans, and I love it. That's why we open up the phone lines. Think about it. We're on the internet, y'all. And we're not screening calls for anybody that, and it's probably not a good thing I'm announcing this, but we don't screen calls. We trust you. Now we'll run your ass in a second. Ooh, second cuss word. If you do anything you're not supposed to and you don't follow the terms of YouTube, X, yada, yada, yada. But you get the point. All right, we'll get back to Progressive one more time, and then I really do want to get to the point of this podcast. Progressive, playing's a gimmick, and it gives underserving teams a chance to still make the playoffs. Okay. So is the NCAA tournament a gimmick, Progressive? I mean, I get that collegiate pro, but isn't that the thrill? If you okay, I get where I think you're thinking of baseball a little bit too much here, Progressive. Here's the thing. Baseball, I agree with you. I don't like baseball cutting down their series. I think they should be 7-game series. Why play 160, what is it? 161 that MLB plays? Why do it? But basketball, it's what makes it exciting. So if you're a top team, yeah, you don't like it, but also if you're a top team, here's the thing. You don't care. Grant's talked about that all season, and I am with him on that. Oh, Excel. The trolls don't bother me. That's the thing. I just wanted to be clear with everybody about where I stand, and I probably didn't need to do that because all of you watch the King's Court a lot more. So appreciate it. And Jason hopping back in. Let's see. How do I get the call in if I'm watching on the phone? Click the link. So you got to click the link. Here's the thing. Click the link. Once you go through the steps you need to do, you will then, once you are on camera or not on camera, you'll see the show. Okay. You'll see me talking. You'll see yourself on screen. It's like being on the radio. Same kind of idea. Yes. Thank you for picking me up, Kyle. Here we go. Jason. Yes, they do want more money. That is correct. I get it. I get it. They don't bother me though. That's the thing. You're not getting the trolls. I know I went back to that. Not bugging me. It's more about me stating the purpose for this show. If you don't want to, if you're not down with it, cool. You could have done a wrestling thing. By the way, good transition. Wednesday, we're going to do something fun, something different. We are going to do and this had a lot more teeth to it before the Malik Monk injury. But we're going to do, because we've got some requests from Adam, and I've actually got a few emails besides him asking for a WrestleMania preview, but I'm not going to do wrestling only on the King's Court. I'm not. So, yeah. So, anyways, we're going to do the Kings fantasy booking for the playoffs. We'll do the first round. Maybe it's just making it to the playoffs. And we're going to fantasy book WrestleMania. And guess who's going to join us for that? Nick Cattles. Nick Cattles back on the East Coast. If you didn't know about Nick, he is a wrestling fanatic, y'all. Wrestling fanatic. So he writes wrestling scripts in his off time for fun. So Nick's going to join us. We'll have some fun there. You guys know that. But okay, let's get back to the point because I want to wrap this up. A lot of sports going. If you watched the post-game show last night, you understand this is a continuation of some of my thoughts. And it's because of some of you that called in yesterday. You formed my thoughts. You made me think a little bit more today. We went up the hill, did Apple Hill. It was beautiful. It was a little bit rainy on the way up, but a lot of fun. Did the Easter egg hunt, all that good stuff. So it was a nice day outside of the King stuff. So let's get back to it. So Mike Brown, defensive coach. And I'll try to be a little bit quicker. Hey, Tyler. It's called a hereditary disease, asshole. Just so you know, buddy. And if you're Tyler from Oshkosh, which I know you're not, because that's one of my really good friends, and I know how he starts his stuff, you're blocked, buddy. And it's not because I can't take a little heat. It's because I don't need people like that in here. If you want attention that way, go somewhere else. Go. Our community, by the way, I don't usually have to block. You guys usually clean it up for us. So get out of here, dude. All right, going back to it. Can we get to the point? Mike Brown, defensive coach. Okay. Last year, last year, check this out. The Kings came out and played offense. Unreal. Unexpected to the coach. Well, I guess one person expected it. The guy from Summer League, right? 40 wins. He was right. Actually, he was kind of wrong. They won more than that. But my point is, it was a surprise to everybody. Okay. And when you build a good franchise that's going to have a window of opportunity to win a championship, you also have to draft well. You have to draft well, but you also have to develop talent within. The Kings are developing talent right now down in Stockton. It's not a coincidence, and they're doing it here in Sacramento too. Not a coincidence that those guys, 9 times out of 10, even if it's not a significant spot, when they come in the games, they're ready to play. So I check that box for the Kings. They're doing that. That's what good franchises do. Excuse me. So the second thing that they're doing is they're flexible, y'all. The Kings are flexible. Other than Fox and Sabonis, what are they locked into? They could have traded Harrison at the deadline. They could have traded Kevin. And I understand contracts are going to be coming up for some people at the end of the year, but the Kings remained flexible. And that's why when I get to my next point, I think it might tell us the most about this Kings team. And here's why. You guys are impatient. You're impatient. A lot of fans are impatient. Monty McNair hasn't made big moves. He hasn't. But we haven't questioned it. We've trusted the process. Now, he did make a big move for Tyrese Halliburton. I take that back. That was a big splash. Now, this is a question to me that has not been asked enough in Sacramento. It has not been asked enough. Do De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis make each other better? On the surface, without thinking too deeply about it, my first thoughts that come to mind are Sabonis makes anyone better, and De'Aaron Fox, I don't know. I don't, because their styles are so different. And that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but their styles are different. And I'm going to tie this in here in a second. You look at when Malik Monk comes into the games, heavy pick and roll. Coach Brown talked about that today. He said that's one of the things the Kings are now going to miss. And who's it going to come from? Can they run the same thing? Does it mean more DHO? What's it going to be? Okay. But that pick and roll game, Sabonis is great at. And Monk elevates Sabonis in that game. Monk elevates pretty much whoever is opposite of him in that pick and roll. So I don't know. It's a hard question. And I think it's one that we need to dive into in the offseason. But keep that in mind for a second. So when I look at the lack of moves over the last 2 seasons for the Kings, is it patience? Is it patience? Was the right move for the Kings not out there? Or this was the question I asked earlier today. I wrote it down because it came to me this morning when I was listening to sound bites after the game. And here's the question. I'll ask it to you guys. Have the lack of moves actually told us exactly what the front office and what Mike Brown thinks about this team? Do they already not think that this is the group to take them over the top? Because you look back to the trade deadline last year, and I know this is early to do this, but we had the conversation last night, so it's fresh in mind. That's why I'm doing it on a Saturday. I'm not doing it on a game day. But look, they didn't make a ton of moves last year. They didn't, okay? I get that. They were still trying to figure out what they had. Well, this year, they did the same. So, in fact, they were trying to be sellers and not buyers. So, are we ignoring the obvious that maybe the front office isn't all in with this group? And that leads me now to the end of the season. The calling system don't work, man. Really? You just got to sign up. You just got to do an email. We don't get your email, by the way. That's just Restream. Interesting. Well, I can help walk you through it. Everybody else had an issue. We'll try to get you on. Sorry about that. So let's get a question in really quick. Ed, aren't the Kings not clicking offensively because Mike Brown is stressing defense? No. So, Ed, this is part of the conversation. And so let me tie this in a little bit more. Okay. Oh, it says wait. Oh, you know why? You know what? This is the problem. It did not update. Let me put this back in for you. That's the old link. That is why it is waiting for the host. Thanks for letting me know that. Here you go. We're sending that out. You guys want to call? Just click that link. That will bring you up. That is the new link. Sorry for not updating that. We will take the QR down. We'll throw up the text. If you scan that QR, it takes you to Grant's website. So, getting back to what we were saying, and I think this comment ties into it. Look at the remaining games on this schedule. Who are these games going to fall on? They're going to fall on De'Aaron Fox. They are. And you can make an argument, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, certainly the bench now. Yes. But when you look at how this team is comprised and you look at how this team has played two different styles in 2 years, and this year it's not fair to say that defensively it's not fair to say, and that's why I jump back, okay? And this is a good point, Progressive, that the Kings are becoming predictable. And so there's tape on them. That's part of it. But again, it's not predictable. They didn't change their lineup. They didn't change. They said, we think our lineup is good enough to get us where we want to go this year. And that's why I'm asking you this question right now. Where does this team want to go? And De'Aaron Fox, is he going to be the leader down the stretch that's going to elevate this team? Because this is his time to be a superstar. This is his time. Grant talks about it all the time. Grant's right. De'Aaron Fox is too inconsistent, or at least this year, both on and off the court. Too much inconsistency. I'm going to keep tying in that point. I've got a Mike Brown point to tie into that. But first, I want to bring NBA guru Zach in on the conversation. Got it figured out, huh?
Yeah, finally. I think it was the link. It was an old link, and I just kept. But no, it's good now. Just wanted to get some comfort, man. Yesterday was such a rough game, just a rough,
Yeah.
one of the most rough days in maybe the Kings' like last 2 years of the Kings. I mean, maybe other than losing, Game 7 and a couple and the Harrison Barnes shot, stuff like that. But it just wasn't. I just need some optimism from you, man. Like, I mean, like you said, Fox has got to play 40 minutes. Sabonis has got to play 40 minutes. We can't rely on Davion being the Monk 2.0 at all. Honestly, we can't. The bench has got to step up. Hopefully, we can get Lyles or Sasha soon. Schedule wise, I mean, it's a very tough schedule. The last 9 games, I mean, like I said, I think we're going to be 7th or 8th, and to get to be 7th or 8th, we probably need 4 wins. I think four
Where are they
wins.
going to come? Where are they going to come, Zach, if
Um,
you had to guess? Hey, here, I'll run down the schedule really quick for everybody. You've got Utah tomorrow night. We know about the Clippers on Tuesday. And I believe, Zach, it's 8 games and 13 nights kicking off after Utah. But you go Utah, Clippers, New York, Boston. That's a back-to-back, New York, Boston. You've got Brooklyn, OKC, New Orleans, Phoenix, and Portland. So I know the 4 that have to be wins in there. But which 4 realistically do you think
I
could
think
be?
I think Jazz is 1, Brooklyn is 1, and the Blazers are 3 right there. Those I think we got to win those, and then for the one of the next 5, one of the next 6, that one we just got to hope we get a win at home, maybe against the Clippers or the Suns or I'm not gonna count the Pelicans one, but maybe some revenge factor with the Knicks game. I don't know, but we need the Jazz, Blazers, and Nets are winnable games, and maybe we get lucky. Maybe I mean Boston. Maybe Jaylen Brown is a play or something, or they're resting a little bit. I don't know. It's going to be tough. I need Keegan Murray to step it up. I need him to get to the basket somehow. He doesn't get to the basket that hard. He does a lot of mid-range shots. He's good at that, getting those type of shots. But I mean, hopefully in the next season too, we could get him to go to the rim a little bit more and be more aggressive there. But yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, what do you think? I mean, you think we can get 4 wins? I think we can get 4 wins and get that 7th or 8th. I just want a 7th or 8th spot and have 2 chances at making the playoffs. I think that's doable.
All right, so let's talk about it, Zach, really quick, because the way the West is shaking. Zach, you got a couple minutes? Because I want to
Yes,
keep you
sir.
here for
Let's
this
let's
next
let's
take.
let's talk. Let's talk,
All
man.
right.
I need a
Eh,
debrief after yesterday.
Cool. And anybody else can join in as well. Like I said, you guys, Patrick, what's up, my man? And Patrick, this is what we're talking about, or Chuck, excuse me. We are talking about this situation right now. And so, Zach, I don't have the optimism to give you. I guess the biggest piece of optimism is the pressure's off. I agree with that. The second thing is Keegan Murray's been playing good basketball offensively quietly. So you see him shooting the ball well. You got to go to that well more. Harrison Barnes, what's it going to be? And then it's the bench. Like I said at the start, all defensive guys. Now, Zach, here is what I'm going to say. Give me some runway, everybody. Give me about 2 minutes to lay this out. Okay. So if you want to look at optimism at the macro level, not at the micro level, I think we're starting to get some answers, Zach. And it's not direct answers from Coach Brown, but I've done a pretty damn good job of decoding Coach Brown all year. Wouldn't you say, Zach?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So looking at the little things that he says and trying to apply those to the analytics and the stats that I look at on a daily basis for this team. And here's what I've come up with, Zach, and I think here's some reason for optimism. I'll let you guys connect the dots however you may about where he's going and why he may be going with things. But this is how I interpret specifically Coach Brown last night and today. Okay. So if I'm decoding his comments, Zach, how much does Mike Brown talk about spray 3-pointers?
All the time.
And we didn't hear about spray 3-pointers like it. You would hear about it, but you didn't hear about it every time Mike Brown spoke.
Right.
And so, anyways, last night or this morning, excuse me, at practice, he says he made a point about watching the film that saying anytime somebody drew 2 defenders, they didn't spray the ball. There was opportunities for sprays. 2 guys would get on guys. 3 guys would sometimes collapse on somebody. Was it Sabonis? Was it Fox? I mean, you think about the guys that have the basketball the most in their hands, and Malik Monk only played a tiny bit last night, okay? Mike Brown is asking the team, if a second guy collapses on you, spray the ball. Kick it out. Don't be a hero. Don't play isolation ball. If anything that we have seen, Zach, in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks of the Kings turning into, quote unquote, this defensive team, we've seen Coach has been all about ball movement. And when the ball moves, even though the Kings, and I'm seeing it in the chat, they don't have that explosion anymore. I've said it for weeks. 130 is gone, Zach. 115 is the new 130 for this Kings. So Mike Brown he's saying the Kings need to do this. So if we want to look at it at a bigger level, you now have some games where that directly and many times is going to fall on De'Aaron Fox. Is De'Aaron Fox going to fall into line with the way that Mike Brown wants to see this offense ran? Or Zach is, I'm going to call a spade a spade. Is De'Aaron Fox going to continue being an isolation point guard?
Right. Yeah. He definitely needs to make the ball a little bit better. His assist numbers aren't as high as I'd like them to be for how much penetration he gets. One thing also, I mean, he needs to get to the. He doesn't take the ball to the rim as much too, and I'd like them to do that. He was doing that last year a lot, and his field goal percentage inside the paint is so good. It was good for a certain stretch in March. I think I saw 95, like some crazy number, 90% the rim or something. I mean, I don't want to go too far and talk about is Fox going to be the guy for the future. I mean, he just needs to play the way he played last year and be consistent. He's going to be playing 40 minutes. And he just, I mean, I don't know why he does. I mean, I guess it's part of the offense that he's not going to the rim as much, but
it's not. Well, okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It should be part of the offense. Great point, Zach. That is by default kind of what he's saying as well.
Right. So I don't know if it's a mental thing for Fox if he doesn't want to get to the free throw line or something. That could be a part of it. But he needs to just go all out these next 2 weeks because he's going to be playing 40 minutes. I mean, even Mike Brown, I think, said that these
Yes,
guys
he
are going to be
did.
playing a lot of minutes.
Well, he said yeah, when guys
Fox
go
said
out,
so.
likely those guys this time of year, they start playing more minutes. So
And
yes,
I
he
don't
did.
want to blame Monty too much. He didn't think what 4 players on the bench are going to get hurt. So I think the Monty attacks is a little too much right now. Trey, Sasha, Kevin, Monk. He didn't expect all four of those guys out. I mean, it's true our bench wasn't deep at all this year. It was just Monk, and we needed some more playmaking. But he's obviously going to make. I think he'll be looking for some more depth in the summer. But I'm just focused on these next 2 weeks. Yeah, that Jazz win. I mean, that Jazz, we got to win that Jazz game to start it off. At least start the without Monk era on a decent start. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think how Mike Brown is going to run this. Is it like you're saying? Like, is it going to be Are we going to try the New York Knicks this, where we're kind of playing like hardball defense and just being very aggressive on D and just tightening up on that? Or are we just going to be chucking even more threes than normal or a balance of both? It's going to be interesting how he wants to do
I
this
don't
type of
know.
offense.
Yeah, Zach, I don't know. I think anybody that tells you that they know what the Kings offense is going to look like tomorrow night, they're lying. They have no idea. You are rolling out this season for the first time, basically outside of Fox, Sabonis, and Murray. You are rolling out and quasi Barnes. You're rolling out a defensive lineup, and you could even say that about Murray to a degree because he's so good on the other side of the court.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like Davion, I don't trust him to kind of be that Monk 2.0. He's gonna be playing more minutes for sure, but I don't see that type of playmaking that he's gonna be able to do. So I don't know if the move is, man. I mean, like when Fox is out, I think Fox has to literally play like 40 minutes because the minutes that he's not playing, it's gonna be Sabonis just trying to get people open, and our 3-point shooters aren't gonna be, it's not going to be as other than Barnes probably is our best 3-point shooter, but it's just going to be Ellis, Davion's run around, Murray hopefully is consistent by then, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting those Fox without Fox minutes because we're just going to be trying to. I don't know if we're going to try to chuck or Sabonis has to score 25 at least or something. It's going to be interesting. Um,
Here's my prediction. I think it's going to be different every night. I
yeah,
just if you're looking for any type of landmarks, I mean, we know the Kings landmarks that if they hit them, usually they're in a ball game or they're going to win a ball game. But you can't even use those landmarks with Malik Monk gone. He's the sixth man of the year, And I
right.
get you're gonna hopefully have Trey Lyles back soon. Sasha still up in the air, but it's tough. So Zach, I go back. So some of the questions you're asking, and everybody out there, I want to keep this point moving forward. And I want to keep you up because you know a lot of NBA. You and I have some really good conversations on this show offline. So love having you up here. And all of you can join the conversation as well. I'll get your comments up. If you want to call, you can. Chuck, don't disagree with you. Progressive. I see what you're saying about free throws. So let's get back to these next games that we don't know about. And I understand Grant doesn't like to have these conversations. I don't usually this early either, but this is different because this is the second year of this team. I think the writing's on the wall. So we look at Mike Brown. To me, he's looking at or talking to De'Aaron with the sprays. And I think also talking to some of the guys on that second unit, Chris Duarte. Why is Chris Duarte shooting so many threes with a team that's reduced the amount of threes that they shoot? So that's the first big Mike Brown thing. Here's the second thing. And this really started leading up to the Dallas games. When Mike Brown, this is one of decoding him. If there's something Mike Brown likes, he'll keep going back to the well. And when I say that, just for instance, today I see him at shoot around. He's wearing his same King sweatshirt. That he loves that sweatshirt. That is his comfort King sweatshirt. Okay. But here's the other thing he said, Zach, today is he's talking about the ball movement. We already hit that, the sprays. But with Dallas, how much did you hear about targeting mismatches? targeting mismatches. He said it 3 or 4 times this last week. Dallas does it so well. He watched the film last night, and he said it again today after practice. So that we know Mike Brown's head is there strategically. Something's not happening on this team. And so now, Zach, the organization, with the questions I posed, I mean, has the organization already told us how they feel about this team, that they're non-committal? They're non-committal with the lack of moves, even though they've made good moves. I agree that they have made good moves, but these 8 games, I think it's something bigger than whether the Kings make the playoffs or not. I think it really is the fork in the road, and obviously you're not going to plant your flag on we're going to win with defense or we're going to win with offense, but you do need to plant your flag on which side of the court's going to be your specialty, because if you think in today's NBA that you can expect to have a team that's just going to go out there and play any style, be excellent, it's not going to happen. And so what's it going to be? And the reading I get from all of you is you are impatient. So the Kings, Mike Brown, they're telling me, not directly, but by the comments and decoding their comments and hearing the same things over and over again, I think there's bigger decisions to be made in this last, whatever it may be, 9 games. Do they get into a play-in? Do they get into the playoffs? I think the question is being asked, can the Kings win with this group or this core? Who are they going to put their eggs in? And I think this next 8-9 games and what happens specifically, what De'Aaron Fox does. Can he play Mike Brown's system and adjust to the way that the Kings are going to have to play to win games, to get those 4 wins Zach is talking about? Can De'Aaron kind of meet in the middle? Can De'Aaron play a little more pick and roll with Domas? How can he make Domas shine and elevate his game that much more? So I think this is a really interesting time for the franchise, everybody. I think although we're not hearing anything directly from the front office, you're not hearing from Vivek, you're hearing from Coach Brown, but we're not getting direct comments about what's next for this franchise. And I want to be clear about this because I was clear about this at the beginning. If your expectations were that the Kings were going to win a championship this year, you were not watching the same team. My expectations for this team, and I think some fans' expectations, were they take the natural progression, the next step in being a contender or having a championship window for a prolonged period of time. Because if you talk about a franchise that is set up going into a new CBA that is not very friendly to the teams that like to overpay for stars, as you go into that CBA, the way the Kings sit, they are sitting pretty. After this draft, they get their draft picks back. They get their draft pick backs, assuming nothing happens with the Herter pick that was part of the transaction to get Kevin Herter here. Okay? So they're in good position to get Malik Monk. But are they in position to go all in after the last 2 years with Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox and Mike Brown? Because everyone, there is not clear reporting on what happened earlier this season with De'Aaron Fox. There's not. Here's what we know. De'Aaron started the season off great. Here's what I can say. De'Aaron started the season off wonderfully, right? But then he gets hurt, comes back from injury, playing at an MVP caliber. And then what happens? Something happens. There's a miscommunication between the leadership council and reportedly, let's be proper, reportedly an issue and a miscommunication between the leadership council and the communication staff, the PR team, which led to this reportedly 16-game stretch of De'Aaron Fox not talking to the media. Coincidentally, Coincidentally, De'Aaron Fox's play was terrible. And terrible is a strong word. It was, it had significantly declined during that stretch. Points were down 5, 6, 7, 8 points. Assists, rebounds, steals, all down. Then things get cleared up. But then there's no clarification on De'Aaron's shoulder injury, right? And do you guys remember Coach Brown? When was the last time an NBA coach, and I get you want to keep it light, I get you want to have some fun every now and again, and Mike had the laptop thing, okay, with the referees, but to do the stuff with De'Aaron's family and bring them into a post game, I get that you're trying to clear the air and poke fun at the situation, but how the hell do you poke fun at a situation that nobody has clarity on? Explain that to me. It only makes it that much more confusing to us. But the season rolls on. De'Aaron has a shoulder injury. Okay? But then after the All-Star break, did I get scanned? I'm not sure if I got scanned. Labrum was tossed around. The Kings injury reporting, by the way, it's there's something off with it. It's just Sasha 2 weeks. I digress. I want to stick to the main point of this.
Okay.
The main point is inconsistencies, miscommunications, okay? Yet Coach Brown remains steadfast. And I have been as harsh of a critic of Coach Brown as anybody this season. But Zach, that's why I can't wait for the offseason, because I think this offseason, we're going to get a hell of a lot more clarity about what went on behind the scenes with this team. I think we're going to get a hell of a lot more clarity about the direction of this team. And I think and I see comments, Fox is supposed to be our superstar, and he's not playing like it at all. Well, Anthony, what's your definition of a superstar? You got to ask yourself that. What more do you expect of De'Aaron Fox? And I pose this to Zach. I pose this to everybody. What is your realistic expectation of De'Aaron Fox as a star, a max player? We'll keep it at that. That's a fact. He is a max player.
Let's
What's your expectations of him, Zach?
All right, that was a lot.
It was
stuff.
You don't have to respond to everything, because remember, I'm doing a podcast. I'm laying out my points of why I'm doing it, but feel free to chime in if you got a point or want to add on to it.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not there yet to move on from Fox. I do want to see him be more of a playmaker. I've said this before. Yeah, he does need to, like Malik Monk. It's very easy for him to have the pick and roll with Sabonis and get a lot of easy shots. He does a great job of that. And I kind of want Fox to kind of, that's what you're trying to say. How come Fox can't do the same thing with Sabonis? Where's his playmaking? He's getting 6 assists a game, but the way he penetrates, the way he spreads the floor out, gets to the rim, he should be able to get a little bit more, and more pick and roll stuff. But I don't know what his value is if we trade him. That's one thing. And one thing to talk about for the stuff that was going on with Fox. Yeah, I remember Sam Amick on an interview was talking about, there was a lot of stuff about Fox, but he kind of knows about it, I think, but he's not.
He does.
And
yes, he is one. I don't want to speak for Sam, but Sam was the reporter that, and those not familiar with Sam, national reporter, covers the Kings for The Athletic. Go ahead, Zach, but he did report what Zach's about to say.
Yeah. Basically, some stuff went on, and he said it's kind of crazy, actually, the way he said it. Like, he made it kind of a big thing, and that it'll get leaked at some point. So I don't know. Who knows what that is? But like you said, that the answer that'll probably come in the offseason, and that'll give us some clarity on the direction. And Mike Brown about those spray threes, and he's talking about in the pressers. That makes me feel like he's calling out, De'Aaron a little bit for the turnovers, because that when he goes inside, he gets a lot of turnovers, and he's not trying to get it to the open guy or to the spray three that they're missing or whatever it is. I don't know Now, the one thing Fox is good for is, scoring, obviously, and taking us in that fourth quarter. But uh, the playmaking with the way our offense is run, we just want a bunch of threes. We want to just spread the floor, penetrate, pass the ball, rotate, all that stuff to get the open three. Because we're trying to, earlier in the year, we were trying to shoot 40 or whatever threes in the game. I still like Fox. It's a question. A question that you got to throw also is the Fox and Sabonis thing. Are those the problems, or can we do better with Barnes and the guys around us? Keegan, he needs to do better at being more aggressive and developing. Um, and Herder for most of the year. Those guys needed to step up too, and they didn't step up. So is it more those three guys didn't step up as much as they could have? So it kind of makes Fox look a little bit bad because he wasn't playing as good as last year, or that's just another question I want to impose too, because we don't. It's just you could blame it on Fox and the inconsistencies and maybe not, being the playmaker with Sabonis that we want him to be. But you also got to throw the question, or is it the guys around Fox and Sabonis aren't being as aggressive or making their shots as much as they could? Herder wasn't shooting well. Keegan doesn't get to the rim really at all unless it's like a backdoor cut or Sabonis is setting him up. And then who else? And Barnes, that guy's not aggressive at all and very inconsistent. The one he goes to the rim, he's making his three, so I'll give him that. Making his threes a lot this year, whatever he is at 40% or something. So, what do you think about that? Like, do you balancing the Fox versus the team around these two guys?
I don't know, Zach, and I think I'm laying this stuff out for you guys because think about this is like if we were going to say this is a trial in court, okay? We're doing discovery right now. We're going over the facts. And the facts are that this style that Mike Brown is talking about, okay, where we're spraying balls, where out of the key, you get two guys collapse on you, you pass the ball. We're talking about guys touching the ball much more often than they were. You can say that, Zach. Earlier in the season, I was very, very loud about this. It is extremely hard to be consistent as a basketball player and to be asked to make a big shot, to come through with the team or for the team offensively when you haven't touched the ball in 4 possessions. So I guess what I'm saying or what I'm trying to lay out for everybody is there are a lot of questions about this team not going all in the way it was comprised with the success they had last year, Zach. Okay. But now there's questions of we saw this team that was this offensive juggernaut last year, right? Well, for 2/3 of the season this year, they've been a wooden roller coaster. They've been up and down, they've been bumpy, nothing too excited. They don't go upside down. They don't do anything really that cool, but it's a solid ride. You know what it's going to be. Okay? Their net rating was between zero point 0.3 and zero point 0.6 for 2/3 of the season through all of those ups and downs, the big wins, the bad losses. And this latest stretch of basketball, this latest stretch, specifically before this bad week of basketball for the Kings, coming into this week, the Kings had dramatically changed their net rating. It had tripled just in a third of the season. And I've asked Jerry about this. I've asked Grant about this. And part of what Grant said last night is also a piece of this puzzle. Grant didn't pull any punches about De'Aaron Fox. So we have Mike Brown. The way I am interpreting Mike Brown, everything he wants this team to do basically seems like it's everything De'Aaron Fox doesn't necessarily want to do offensively. And that's why, Zach, for all the reasons I laid out for the upcoming offseason, regardless of whether the Kings make the playoffs or not this year, these next this stretch of games to end the season, I think may tell us more about the direction of the Sacramento Kings than the previous 70 games, 72 games leading into it. And that's with nobody left really on the roster. So let's look and let's see how this Sacramento Kings team does as they're led by De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. You can't ask any more of Domantas Sabonis this year. I get you want him to have a jump shot. I get you don't want him to turn the ball over as much. I get you don't want him to run the fast break as much. I agree with you there. When Domas runs the fast break occasionally, it's great. It's awesome. It's like one of those meals you have once or twice a year, and you always go out to eat it, never cook it at home because you know you'll just ruin it. You got to go buy it. You know, uh, that's kind of the way I see things. So it's just these games. These games are going to be huge. And will De'Aaron Fox be on board? And I have no reason to believe De'Aaron won't be on board. I'm not knocking him. I am pointing out the inconsistencies and what seem to be two people that are on completely different pages. Because if you look at what Coach Brown says all the time and you read between the lines and then you listen to De'Aaron Fox, it's really hard not to come away with the intuition that there is a struggle there. And as I said, I started being very critical of Coach Brown about at the midway point of this season. And I am backtracking. I am completely backtracking. That's not because of the De'Aaron Fox stuff. I think you guys know the halftime shows where they bring in the guy that balances like 37 different plates on they look like the big chopsticks, whatever they are, and all the while they're balancing on a chair. I think Mike Brown's done that this year to get this team through. And I think as we learn more, as this season winds down, that could become more apparent. And I think this offseason, I think you're going to get, Zach, and everybody else, a clear direction on how this team's going to go. Because quite frankly, it would be a step back if the Kings do not choose a course of action, choose a way to go forward, because they will be wasting Keegan Murray growing into what could be a perennial all-star. If Keegan Murray went to a different program, a different system, Keegan Murray is the type of guy that will play 15 years in the NBA and have multiple championships. But why not here in Sacramento? The Kings can do it. The table's set. They're set up well, but it starts with these next games. So pay attention closely to what Coach Brown says. Pay attention to the points of emphasis for this team. Pay attention to what De'Aaron Fox says. Pay attention to De'Aaron Fox's play. Pay attention to the Kings' rotations. Pay attention to nuances in the offense that may happen coming home because the Kings are going to have to do them. Pay attention to guys getting extended minutes and extended looks. Pay attention to, and I have been the biggest advocate all season of the 209 and the player development going on there. Watch the Kings these next 7, 8, 9 games test what they have down in Stockton if things start to go wrong. Grant said last night the Kings might not or could theoretically not win another game the rest of the season. And when you look at the schedule and you look at the teams that this team has lost to, it is very possible, Zach, and it's very possible, everyone. So the reason I wanted to come on tonight was not kick the hornet's nest for the Kings fans, just what Zach said, debrief. I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to congregate, talk. I know you got X, you got Twitter, but it's fun when we come on here. But you guys, last night's post-game show, you guys are the reason that, I started thinking about this a little bit more, and I listened with intent ears today to what Coach Brown was saying. So, hey, Zach, I appreciate you joining the Kings Court tonight. Any final words? Any final question statements? Floor is yours, Zach.
Just want to tell the Kings fans, let's keep hope for these next 2 weeks. We got 9 games left. Let's get 4 or 5 wins. Keep the 7th or 8th seed, and we can. You never know. You just never know. We can win. We just need to win 1 of 2 games. Maybe somehow someone steps up. Davion can make a little bit for the extra 5 minutes that he has to play Fox just is about scoring 30, getting 7 assists a game. It could happen. I could see there's some pressure on Fox right now. I know people are saying there's not really any pressure on the team to like do anything, but this team, these players, they would just went through 6 months of the season, and it comes down to this, and then they don't make the playoffs. I don't think they want that. There's some pressure there to try to keep going and try to keep making the playoffs. And you just never know. We want to make the playoffs for a couple reasons. One, we get our picks, and two, it makes Monk want to stay here a little bit more. That's a huge, huge offseason task is to keep Monk. So I just want hopefully the Kings can just power through these next 9 games, get 4 or 5 wins, get us to the 7th or 8th seed, and you never know what happens. And let's just and I don't know if there's any 10-day contracts out there to give for someone like a Terrence Davis. I know he's got an injury or anything, but it would have been nice if he could have come on and because he knows the offense a little bit, knows the players on the team. It would have been a nice fit, but
well, Zach, really quick, I want to hop in really quick because even at the trade deadline this year, and by the way, what Monty McNair did at the trade deadline was brilliant, in my opinion. It was absolutely brilliant. Basically, what he did with the trade, acquiring Lopez, more or less by waiving Lopez. So with every deal in the NBA, there has to be something exchanged of value, and it can't be a basketball or a net anymore. And so in this case, it was cash considerations. That's why the Kings were willing to take him on and then release him. Those cash considerations paid for Keon's raise. I don't know that exact money paid for Keon's raise, but that move to me as an outsider looking in, that move was made to adjust for pay for that raise that Keon got coming onto the roster full time as opposed to a two-way player. And remember this, guys, your two-way players, they are not eligible for the playoffs. So what will the Kings do there? That's why Keon was signed, and luckily they were beyond their time there. But I go back to the trade deadline. This team had already experienced more injuries at the trade deadline than they experienced all of last year, and the Kings still stayed pat. They didn't do anything other than the move we just talked about. So I think not enough people have asked this question. Have we just missed it all along? Has Vivek, the front office, have they told us this year all along what they feel about this team, that they still are not ready to go all in with them? And that's a fair way. They've kept room. And I want to address really quick, Zach, some of these questions that came up. Okay, we're getting a lot of comments about Jordy. Yes, I would expect Jordy is probably gone. Jordy's going to be a great coach. He is a great coach. He is the mastermind, by the way, behind the Kings. Not the mastermind, but he is a defensive-minded coach. A lot of questions about Coach Brown. So here's what I don't want to do, guys. Don't come away from this episode of the Kings Court saying Coach Brown's going to get fired. De'Aaron Fox is going to get traded. Don't say that Rhino said those things because I didn't, and I'm seeing it in the chat. It's already, so it's going to be Mike Brown that's going to get fired, or Vivek, he's going to make a move. They got to if they don't make the playoffs. Okay, I'm not saying any of those things. I'm laying out the foundation. I'm laying out the discovery for you guys to help connect the dots. Now, if the Kings don't make the playoffs, I will say this. I am firmly in the camp and of the belief if Vivek Ranadive after this year was to let go of Mike Brown, if he was to let go of Mike Brown for this season, I feel like it would be a complete and utter regression back to the days of DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, I'm not. I think they got at least 1 year with Mike Brown. If everything goes wrong, even if things go wrong, they'll keep him for the next season. I'm not too worried about that. My most worries are the Monk re-signing. The development of Keegan Murray's big there. We need him to be more aggressive, somehow get to the rim, or just be more involved in the offense, not just being in the 3-point line and getting a couple mid ranges here and there. He needs to be more He needs to be part of the offense even more. That was the big part of it. This year he did do a little bit better, but uh, that's how the team. That's the team's ceiling. Is Fox needs to get back to last year. That shouldn't be. I mean, that's not asking crazy much. Just do what you did last year, and then Keegan's got to go up a notch. Keon Ellis's development is going to be big. I'd like to see that offensively,
Okay,
maybe.
but here's the other thing, guys, really quick, and we're gonna wrap up here. We're already at 55 minutes. We'll go till the top, or we'll go 60 minutes. I think Sacramento fans are falling in love with the idea of a player that plays the way that Keon plays. I think they're falling in love with the role that Keon plays. And I just want to say, be careful. What I'm seeing from Keon is awesome. Awesome. I love it. In fact, I think him moving in and getting more minutes and him moving into the starting lineup is really a lot where the credit lies for the Kings' defensive run and the steals going way up, because Keon allows them to be able to switch on the perimeter, and not just the guards. He can switch with Keegan. He can switch with HB at times. So that opened them up. Kevin Herter could not do that with De'Aaron Fox. So, yes, I want to see Keon develop, but I would not, Kings fans, go into this season thinking we've got a big four now with Keon Ellis,
No
Keegan
chance.
Murray. Don't do that.
No, he's just going to be a role player. Just developing his being a better role player would be great. Actually, a comment that I just saw that was interesting is if we re-signed Monk, and then traded Fox for a small forward or a wing or something. That could, this is kind of the stuff that you're trying to bring up a little bit.
Well, no. So I don't want to get into like trades and like what they would do. Yes, and it's fair to bring that up. It's too early to talk that stuff, but I don't think it's too early to at least lay the groundwork for what you're going to be watching the rest of the season, in my opinion. And I think that's what the groundwork is. It's not, again, to kick the hornet's nest. I think we're watching this in real time. It's not like something where the Kings know what they're going to do. If this was a reality TV show, and by the way, don't forget, it would be really cool if there was a camera crew following Domas. Oh yeah, there is for Netflix. So that'll be really fun to see this season. But
One last thing, I
I
just
don't.
want to say, I think it'll be interesting for every player every player has these type of questions that you're putting on Fox, in my opinion. I think every player is.
Sure,
I think every player. But yeah,
sure,
you're
sure.
just bringing up Fox because he's one of the main
You have
components.
to. Okay, but okay. Here's the thing, Zach, and I'll address this, and we'll wrap up in just a second. You have to bring up Fox. Who else are you? De'Aaron Fox, is he, for me, fastest basketball player I've ever seen with a basketball? Period. End of story. Now, freakiest athlete, Anthony Edwards. We can talk about that later. But De'Aaron Fox's advantage is speed, change of speed, acceleration. He can just blow by you, okay? But that also led to him getting to the free throw line more. And that also opened up things for other guys last year. Why the hell do you think Keegan just stood in places and broke the rookie record for three-pointers? So one, he's your max player. So you have to start there, Zach. So if we're going to talk about everybody on the roster, which we will do after the season, certainly those conversations will be had. But look at the Kings' free throws this year. And I'm not even talking about free throw percentage. I'm talking about free throw attempts. This year, the Kings have attempted 1,534 free throws. That's how many they've attempted. Do you know how many free throws the Kings attempted last year? Do you guys have any guess?
I think I remember it was like 25 or something.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. 15. Yeah. So it was way off. So last season, the Kings free throw numbers they're still not even close to attempts this year versus makes. The Kings made more free throws than they've even attempted this year, which is crazy. And so for me, if you're talking about spray threes and driving, that means fouls are going to go up. And don't give me, I get the refs have been bad. We know instant replay has to be fixed before they can do anything else. But it starts with Fox. It does. And the percentage, the attempts, all down. And part of that's the three ball. The three ball he's been shooting at a higher percentage. Here's the thing. The shots that De'Aaron Fox is taking from beyond the arc, all of you are right when you say technically they are not bad shots, okay? But De'Aaron's advantage is so far skewed on the other side of things with driving the ball, getting to the paint, drawing contact. He has such a big advantage there. For De'Aaron to go away from that as much as he had this year and go with the 3 ball, and I get Coach Brown, he said let it fly all season. He has, and now he's reined it in 35 to 40 a game. That may change because of what happened to Monk. But you have to put that on De'Aaron directly, Zach. There's just no other way to quantify it because De'Aaron would have to be shooting, in my opinion, at least and this isn't realistic, 60% from beyond the arc for me to be like, you know what? I would much rather De'Aaron Fox take that step back 3 or that fadeaway 3 with 21 seconds left on the shot clock. I would much rather him take that shot than drive to the hoop when the Kings need a basket. So those are the things. Those are the things I want clarity to, and that is why I start with De'Aaron Fox, Zach.
Well, we'll find out. Time will tell. These next 9 games, I think Fox will show up. I think he's going to do work. I appreciate it.
I hope so too. I hope so too. And this is a fair point. Donald Fox never gets the calls. It's something we've talked about, and we've talked about it with Jerry Reynolds. It's a fair point. And again, because things have been so quiet, these are the answers we want because we're tuned into this team. We understand where they need to get better. And I think we're trying to guess and check, and we feel like we're getting close. But after the season, we're going to get a lot of clarity. So again, Kings fans, I'm going to end the podcast with this. Zach, hey, thank you so much for joining us tonight, by the way.
Appreciate it,
I guess
Ryan.
it was the Zach and Rhino podcast tonight.
Appreciate it, Ryan. Take care.
All right, buddy. That's Zach, the NBA guru. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with a question that was the point of this podcast. We'll wrap it up. And I'm going to go get a new mic, by the way, even though it's fine. Usually, we're going to get a new mic. That will hopefully not happen again. But I'm going to ask you what I asked earlier. And I want to make sure I say it just right. That's how important it was. I wrote it down on my game notes from last night. Yes, I tracked possessions. Yes, I knew. So I don't know about free throw attempts off the head. Between the guys you're talking about, Brunson and Fox. I would have to look that up. But let's get to the question. We will get out of here. Thank you guys so much again for joining the Kings Court tonight. We will be back with full coverage tomorrow of the Kings and the Jazz. Melancholy, bittersweet game going into it with the news of Malik Monk out 4 to 6 weeks. All right, here's the question, guys, and we are going to end on this. Thank you for all of your great comments and contributions. Have the lack of moves actually told us exactly what the front office thinks about the composition of this team? I leave you with that. Hit me up on the X at Ryan in Sacktown. Go follow the Kings Court if you don't already. By the way, and I thank all of you because our downloads are through the roof. So thank you so much for that. We are almost to 1,000 followers on the X. When we hit 1,000 followers, I'm going to announce some brand new things coming to the Kings Court. One of which might be watching live games and able to comment and talk about them and call them. If you would like maybe some commentary on live Kings games through NBA League Pass. So look, I just gave you an announcement, but another one we have, a listeners brunch, y'all. We are going to do a listeners brunch out at Bennett's. We're going to get some special guests as well. Already got a couple people in mind for that and talk to them. And I'll let you know how you can get your way to that. And I've got some more announcements like sitting courtside. You want to go sit courtside? You don't even have to talk to me. You can just enjoy the seat. It's all good. We're going to do that too. So more to that. Go follow me on Twitter if you don't already. Follow the Kings Court. Thank you all again. I feel very, very blessed to be coming to you on this platform, 296. I appreciate your support. Appreciate the passion that all of you have for this team in Sacramento, and have a great night. Again, I will close with this. Malik Monk, not great news, but it's the best news we could have asked for today, considering the mood last night, the comments from the team last night. Go Kings! Light the beam. Court is dismissed.